from Zion, it's the man alive.
Jah! 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 The lion about. You hear a tune? You hear a sweet tune? If this was a UNC platform, they'd be playing drunk and disorderly. Or if they decided to play a little reggae, they'd be playing Anthony B. The damage has already been done. According to Nyan Gatsby Dolly, rock so woman, rock so. Thank you very warmly, Madam Laurel Lizama, for your kind introduction in your capacity as party PRO, doing an excellent job at that, and Master of Ceremonies tonight. In absentia, but because this man is so mightyful, so full of integrity, such an outstanding leader of the People's National Movement and leader of Trinidad and Tobago as Prime Minister, even in absentia, I pay respectful tribute. The Honorable Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley, our political leader and Prime Minister, couldn't be with us this evening. And I'll take the opportunity at this time to thank you, sir, and to thank him before you for the confidence he has reposed in me and for allowing me to feel the sense of pride and humility that I do, to know that I am a deputy political leader of this great and mightyful institution in the country, in the region, and the world that is the People's National Movement. And I accept that with ultimate humility. Jah! My cabinet colleagues, of course, the Honorable Mr. Colman Burt, Minister of Finance, also doing a fantastic job. The economy is the lifeblood of this economy, the country, and he has done a particularly good job, Mr. Colman Burt. My brother, Minister Kazim Hussein, my young sister, Nyan Gatsby Dolly, my other cabinet colleagues in the House, Shamfa Kojo, Paula Gopi Schoon, my Member of Parliament colleagues, Mr. Ford, and my brother, Rastaman, from Laventil East, Mova, Adrian Leons, Vice President of the Senate and his beautiful wife, the mayors and chairmen of corporations in the House, all party officers, of course, present, the executive and members of the Sanwo Barataria constituency of the PNM, members of this great political party that is the PNM, particularly so the 14 standard bearers, flag bearers, the candidates, those who will go out there in the next few days and bring home the seats, the electoral districts, to keep us where we are and to take us even higher. The beautiful candidates in this corporation, Sanwo Laventil Regional Corporation. Members of the media, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the few children among us, a very good evening to you all. Dr. Eric Williams, we heard of him this evening, the founding father of this nation. But he was not alone. He founded this party with other greats like John Donaldson Sr., D. Wilton Rogers, Isabel Tishe, Kamaluddin Mohammed, Dr. Ibit Musahib, Mr. Donald Peer, Andrew Carr, the two brothers, W. Alexander, Cecil Alexander, and Felix Alexander, Gerard Montano, and of course, I think I said Donald Peer already. Those are the minds, those are the people who back in 1956 and some even slightly before who came together and birthed the idea of this great institution that has lasted and contributed so well over the last 63, 64 years. Dr. Williams took us to independence, to republicanism, and at that time, even if you were too young to understand it, there were some imperatives at that time: nation building, independent and stable economy, building our constitution, the skeleton, the framework on which the entire state had to stand up and survive, economic independence, as I said. And that great work was carried on by successive PNM teams led by George Chambers, led by Mr. Patrick Manning, and of course today in the hands of the great Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. And I say great because I know why I say that. And who don't know will discover that in due time. He, Dr. Rowley, in 2015, when he came to leadership of this country as Prime Minister, had a new set of imperatives to deal with. He inherited, as you heard earlier, a raped and ravished and battered economy. He inherited instability. He inherited institutional breakdown, meltdown. He inherited a serious national security and crime issue. And there were some imperatives to deal with that. In fact, it has gotten to the point where he has now, with a very clear vision going forward, is about to assist and to lead us in building a new society. I felt so happy as I told a group of powerful activists in San Juan last night. I felt so proud, so elated, so happy on Sunday among all of you at the Queen's Park Savannah. It was a joy to behold. I looked at the light in your spirits. I looked at the fullness of your eyes, and I saw strength. I saw determination. I saw consciousness in every one of you, and I see that again here tonight. Another feature of you last Sunday, which I see again here tonight, is a significant and high proportion of young people among us here this evening. Gives us hope. It lets us know we are doing the right things, and on the other hand, we are heading in the right direction with you to take it up when we pass it on to you, as we must. So I want to thank you for your powerful PNM turnout on Sunday. I want to thank you because you sent shivers up that woman's spine. When she was speaking a little later, she was stumbling on her words as she now usually does. Because she knows there are those on her own team who are sharpening their political axes. So when you all finish them off on December the 2nd, they will chase her out of the UNC. We know that. She's fighting for her life. She's desperate. She's behaving in an unsober manner. She's fearful of the PNM, but you're supposed to fear the PNM, you know. When I see Ole last Sunday, if I wasn't a PNM, if I wasn't red till I did, I'd afraid Ole too, you know. What a mightyful army you are. Oh my God. We are fighting, ladies and gentlemen, for the soul of this nation as no other time before. They want to change the character of this country. They want to change our political character. They want to change our economic character. They want to change our social character. They want to change our spiritual character. They want us to give up righteousness for wrongiousness. They want us to give up good for what is evil. They want to give up justice for injustice. They are really an evil bunch. And I don't say that lightly. They are capable of anything. You just have to look at the people they attract. You look around you and you see cleanliness, you see youth, you see beauty, you see public service. But when you look in their ugly faces, when you look into their spirits, is beast and vampire. Look at those who she attracts around her. Look those who she fight like hell to bring back. Arnold Roberts, a man of life sport fame, and you know it, caused mayhem in East Trinidad. Of all the lawyers in the country, the only lawyer she found to be an attorney general was a fella called Arnold Ramlogan. She fight hard to keep Gerald Ramdeen. Something has to be wrong with you to be attractive to Kamla Prasad Bisesa. You have to have some kind of defect. And if you say you're not a UNC, there's a UNC friend like Watson Duke, something wrong with you too. All of that reminds me of Ma Baker and Sons, Calamity Jane. Check it out. All they have done is bring shame and disgrace to our country. It was the UNC. Remember this. And the heartbeat of the UNC that introduced into the virgin and otherwise untouched Trinidad and Tobago the phenomenon of the killing of state witnesses. It was the UNC who introduced in this country the bringing of gangsters known to the police in the elections process. I campaigned against one, and there are others. It was the UNC who introduced, with a budget of $6 million, life sport, and it got to over $400 million. It caused a lot of deaths in the Malabar and Arima area. And when the COP was having their internal elections, they reported that there was thuggery and banditry inside of it, threatening people about how to vote. And thank God the life sport issue came to head in 2013 in this country. Otherwise, we would have entered the general election of 2015 with a phenomena that you would never have experienced before. But God is a good God. It was out of that we lost a senior state prosecutor. Matters that are still before us. And it was the UNC that introduced voter padding in Trinidad and Tobago. We didn't know nothing about that. We know about voting machine, we know about ballot box. We didn't know nothing about voter padding. It was the UNC. And today we have another major scandal, Cambridge Analytica. A matter that you young people must pay close attention to, because you are more tech savvy than we are. This is your life. We are learning, we are coping with it. But you were born into the generation of this technology, where the use of your smartphone, your iPad, your desktop has been used by some persons with the sanction of the UNC led by Kamla Prasad Bisesa to monitor all of your private affairs with one purpose and one purpose alone: to humiliate, to leave opportunities for extortion, to leave opportunities for scandalizing you, and of course, they hope to use that to win the general elections of 2015. But God is a great God, and the PNM is a great party, and the two coming together ensured that that nasty job did not succeed. We beat them in 2015, and we are going to beat them on December the 2nd, and we are going to beat them in 2020, and we are going to beat them in 2021, because Kamla Prasad Bisesa, light will always prevail over darkness, every time. And we know that. The UNC, based on the reports coming to us and published in this book, Mind F something, so I can't pronounce the word, so I'll say mind sex. I say mind sex. Mr. Christopher Wiley told the world in this book what the plan was and what plan was executed. This is not Carl Mimbert saying this, or Dr. Keith Rowley, or Fitzgerald Hinds, or even Keith Subero, a journalist who wrote several times on this matter in 2016 and 2018 in the Express newspaper as a columnist. This is not anybody just talking. This is a man who is admitting that he was involved in wrongdoing in Trinidad and Tobago, to the point of even breaking certain laws. Admitting that. He told the world that the Ministry of National Security at the time summoned them, SCL, a company, and a company called Cambridge Analytica, to use their services to fight crime. Because they had the technique of profiling people psychologically from looking at what you do on the internet. Because it was argued by one of the professionals in there that your iPad, your computer, your smartphone knows more about you than your husband or your wife. Because even when he or she's sleeping, sometimes you on yours playing. Your bank transactions, your medical records, your private communications, all of this, Mr. Wiley told us, was made available, and access was given to certain data points, TNTech, WASA, TSTT, the GATE program, various ministries. And of course, perhaps with some help from Facebook, because that is a matter of international concern now. All of you on Facebook, they would have had access to your Facebook account, and they would have had access to all your business on the internet, historical and real time. They use that information to form a psychological profile on you, and then target you on the basis of that profile. So they work out what you like, what you don't like, and then they target you. They look at your cultural traits. Today, we see the UNC with a false slogan about PNM talk, but UNC work. You see that? We learned from Mr. Wiley that back in 2010, they involved racial profiling. They had profiles about Africans and Indians. And this thing about PNM work or talk and UNC work, that is part of the whole profiling. That's an indirect way of saying PNM people lazy. And when you understand that, and of course, in the context of Trinidad and Tobago with 1.3 million or so people, with just a relatively few number of smartphones and computers, within 1 or 2 weeks, because if you get into my Facebook account, all of my friends, you get them too. And all of their friends, you get them in too. And when you get into TSTT, all of my phone contacts you have, and all of each of their phone contacts, you get that too. So in a small population like ours, within 2 weeks, you cover the whole country. That is how dangerous this thing was, and how vulnerable we were, courtesy Kamla Prasad Bisesa and the United National Congress. Stuart Young yesterday revealed to this country, because the minute the news broke out, first of all, in 2015, when you started getting calls and getting Twitter and getting emails that Kamla Prasad Bisesa want to talk to you and she will call back later, People were asking, how did you get my email address? How did you get my Twitter account? How did you get my phone number? Little did you know that the government that was supposed to have protected you, according to Mr. Christopher Wiley, exposed you. But she denied it. I heard her on the radio tonight saying she knows nothing about that. She don't know nothing about that. Deny it. All of them running from it now because it have criminal laws in Trinidad and Tobago that may have been broken. So we have some proof as to how she must have known. So we have a copy here of the campaign team and NATEX, National Executive Coordinating Meeting, held on Tuesday, the 3rd of June, 2014. This is in the run-up to the general election 2015. And this meeting was held at the UNC headquarters, Rienzi Complex. That's before they get thrown today. You remember they wanted to take over Balize House? They wanted to sell it when we had owed PTSC some money? You remember that? Well, not only we still in Balize House since 1956, but right now we are re-establishing Balize House for the world to see. And when we finish, the emblazoned PNM will be fighting for space on the skylines in the city with any of the major corporations in town. Great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. They can't touch this. But they got thrown out of the UNC complex. Now they're like a rag. They're like a dog without a home. I don't know where it is. And I make no apology for saying that. So they had this meeting, and the attendees at the meeting were here who? Rodney Charles, a fellow called Dave Tanku. You might know him, I know him. A fellow called Shem Baldeo Singh. You might know him, but I know him real good. We know him. Both Tanku and Baldeo Singh were advisors in her office. Now, Padarat used to carry around the handbag, but them two fellas was advisors. And talking about he wanted to kill your member of parliament, Nayan Gatsby-Dolly, because she told him how to be a good parent. Well, he came back to Trinidad with a popo just for dancing tassa. Nobody didn't ask him if you have baby. You tell the world you have baby. So all she was doing is advising you to be a good parent. What she didn't know is, well, you know, but she was general. She had to be general. So she tell you be a good parent. They see like me, she might just say be a good father. Here who was in the meeting. Here who was in the meeting. Khadija Amin, you all know her? A noisy and empty vessel. A certain Dr. Andy Ali. A Roger Ramcharita. A Mr. Richard Ahmad, and a Mr. Arun Ramanan. Absent from the meeting, excused, is a Mr. Steve Arman. Now, these meetings are minuted, they keep records. Well, of course, when Mr. Gary Griffith and the police go, they wouldn't be able to find them either. I'm sure about that. But we have a copy. The meeting commenced at 5 p.m. and they reviewed and confirmed the minutes of the previous meeting, the 27th of May 2014, and the following matters were discussed. They discussed a draft constitution of the UNC. This, ladies and gentlemen, is in 2014. Them now talking about a draft constitution. Your PNM have constitution since 1956. We have amended it several times. You see why we say great is the PNM? There is just a conglomeration of wicked, evil, disaffected people who have problems with one of you or the PNM and join the UNC to cost the PNM. But they can't stop we. They had to review their draft constitution. And then they came on to the second item, which was about data collection. It's written here, you know. And here it. Point one, tapping into state agencies to build a voter file. Using existing data capture initiatives already existing. That means WASA, TNTech, GATE, and all the Ministry of Social Development. All of your records. And then bullet point 2, Dave Tanku to obtain the 2010 TSTT files. And Dr. Andy Ali to obtain the WASA file. And Dave Tanku, TNTech and TT Post and the Ministry of the People and Social Development, which was headed by a fellow called Glenn Ramadar Singh, who was fired from the cabinet because he exalted himself in a plane. You remember that? A very tactile fellow, you remember that? She bring him back, right? Steve Arman to be approached on the GATE files. It's all written here, you know. So you young people who access the GATE program to advance yourselves academically and in technical training at the UTT or wherever else, they were to expose you too. And of course, San Fernando West, they left it up to Mr. Arun Ramanan, because San Fernando West is a marginal seat. And whatever they had planned, this is all it says. But here it is. Number 3 on the agenda, UNC approval process. And bullet point 1 is to ensure the political leader is aware of the release. And to consult with deputy political leader, chairman and general secretary on their area of expertise. And so it was, this meeting went down. So for them to tell you now, Munilal telling us that that was not the executive of the UNC. It may not have been the UNC executive, but it is the heart and soul, the engine room of the UNC. They can't get away from this at all. And to compound that, I received today a copy of an email which reads as follows. And we're not joking here about no email gator. And this, I am told, was sent to all of the 850 or so schools across Trinidad. Dear team, Honorable Minister has indicated that he would like to have a database of information for parents of students in government and denominational secondary and primary schools. The following lists are to be collected by the head school supervisor 3 in each district and submitted to the Honorable Minister via this email by Tuesday the 18th of November 2014 at 2 p.m. Each district, and it lays out the instructions for how it has to be done. And at the end, kindest regards, Ms. H. Ramsing, Minister's Secretariat, Ministry of Education, 18 Alexandra Street, Sinclair. So this is a ministry responding to the call. You were getting calls. All of this happened. So the UNC cannot tonight deny that something went on, because you know something went on. And the Minister of National Security has written formally to the Commissioner of Police asking for an investigation into these matters, because we have potential breaches of the Integrity in Public Life Act, the Misuse of Computer Act, the Interception of Communications Act, the Telecommunications Act, the Data Protection Act, and you have common law offenses like misbehavior in public office, to the extent that we find public officers involved in this. At that time, CNC3 reported on the issue as well. So when they're telling us today that they don't know nothing about it, we know definitely that they're trying to mislead us. But the great problem we have is, we have information that they still have access to that information. Mr. Christopher Wiley told us that he erased all the millions of accounts that he had, that he used to play with. We have to take him on his word. We didn't hear that from the UNC yet. So we have reason to believe that they still have it, and they are still using it, and they intend to use it in this and other election going forward. So we have to watch them. We have to watch them very, very carefully. So ladies and gentlemen, we of the PNM, we don't offer you that. We offer you uprightness and integrity. When Rodney Charles was approached on this matter, he said it happened so long ago, 2014, he can't remember. Did you hear him say that? When Khadija Amin was approached this week, she too said she can't remember. When Dave Tanku was approached, he said it was fake news. When Roger Ramcharita was approached, he said he was at the meeting, he admitted it, but he cautioned the rest of them about its potential illegality. And as for Arun Rahamanan, he told us this week that he is seeking legal advice before he speaks to the issue. That is what they are about. But there's a difference between shameful and shameless. So before I close, let me explain you that. Mr. Christopher Wiley, he committed a shameful act because he was paid by his company, and he told us in this book and otherwise that while he was on the computer looking at your individual business, he felt uncomfortable in his stomach. And eventually he became a whistleblower, and he's now telling the world what happens. He appeared before the British parliamentary inquiry on it. He appeared before the US congressional inquiry on it. And we are trying to bring him to ours because when this matter broke, not now, they are trying to give you the impression that we are raising this matter now because there's elections. I heard Kamala Prasad Visesa saying so. We don't need this to win no election. But we need to let the people of Trinidad and Tobago know that when we come to Parliament to pass laws, you pretend and play pious that you want to protect the rights, including privacy rights and the constitutional rights of the citizen. But while you was talking that, your teeth long like vampire, you allowed Cambridge Analytica to get into the same people's business, and you did that with the view of winning the people's vote again. Will you allow that, Trinidad and Tobago? Will you allow that, Trinidad and Tobago? Well, as I close, I promise you, with every sinew in my body, with every ounce of strength, and with every bit of breath that the Almighty God, Jah, has given to me, I am going to fight like a lion to ensure that every one of your councillors in Sanwa Lamantil win in their electoral districts, and we clean out the UNC. And I'm going to work hard to ensure that in every single corporation in this country, we will do the same. And on the night of December the 2nd, we will go to Balize House in celebratory mode. And after that, in 2020, we will all work like lions to ensure that the UNC never takes a place in the governance of this country again, because all they have brought to Trinidad and Tobago is shame and disgrace. God bless you. I thank you.